What is going on, everyone? And welcome to the Sports Talk on Tap podcast. And here you can find daily uploads Monday through Friday covering all the four major sports teams. That includes, basketball, baseball, football, hockey, just covering all the major news, coming up with fun ideas throughout the off season as we approach, the summertime, kind of a ghost mode as the finals wrap up for hockey and the basketball. I'm Jake. That's Nick, the two co-hosts of this podcast. And in today's episode for our baseball podcast, Wednesdays, we typically do kind of it's like an overview of the standings, kind of see where each team lies week to week, just kind of see what's going on in the trends. But we kind of did that yesterday, a check-in of our division predictions we made way back in May, early May. So today we can try to come up with a fun idea, something random. We're going to do the top pitchers, favorite, best, however we want to quantify it. It was an open book of the 2000s around there, could bleed in, from the 90s to 2000s or 2000s to 2010s. Nick, I'm excited to see your list. You're obviously a baseball guy, probably more than me, obviously, but I won a Little League World Series, so I know some baseball too. And, I'm here. So it's only fair, Nick, to give you first shot at this. Who is your number one? Or not, it doesn't have to be in order, but who's the first guy?
Okay, well, he probably would be number one for me regardless. He's my favorite pitcher of all time. You've heard me talk about him.
Him crazy.
Pedro Martinez, in my opinion, the best pitcher of all time. I know it's a very hot take. There's arguments for so many different pitchers, like just throughout history, about just who, but just in my opinion, his peak in his prime, he was doing it at the steroid era, and Pedro Martinez's peak were at the same time, and he was absolutely dominating all those guys. So that's my biggest case for why I think I can understand so many other guys like Nolan Ryan, Pedro Martinez, Randy Johnson, just so many other guys. But that'll be my first guy. He was the first one that came up. 1999 and 2000s, or his 1999 and 2000 season, back-to-back Cy Youngs. It was unbelievable. So That's just my guy. So let me hear yours.
All right. I'm going to go with a guy who might be known, more so for like his run in like the early parts of the 2010s, but he also was very good in the late 2000s. Underrated pitcher for me. Tim Lincecum of the San Francisco Giants.
He's on my list.
Oh, he is on your list as well. Yep. I obviously have Pedro on my list, so we can kind of, bleed those in together. Like you said with Pedro, I agree with pretty much everything you said. One of the best pitchers pitching in a tough era during the time of the steroids and stuff. And still had a very good ERA. Very good pitcher, obviously. I could argue best. But Tim Lincecum won back-to-back Cy Youngs in 2008 and 2009 and was a huge part of those Giants teams bleeding into the 2010, 2012, 2014 that won all those World Series, even years. Was clutch, had a no-hitter. Was just overall, though, could kind of do it all, had that weird, weight lined up and stuff, but very underrated pitcher, like when we look back in history. And it all started back in the late 2000s when he was winning his Cy Youngs, was dealing great, could strike out, could do just a little bit of everything. And, was a very underrated pitcher that was a part of a dynasty that people, will kind of, remember.
Yeah. His prime was like a lot shorter than many people's prime, but when he was in his prime, he was probably the best pitcher.
For peak, that dude was a straight machine.
Yeah. He was probably the best pitcher in baseball when he was, those 2, 3, 4 years you were just talking about with his Cy Young.
Leading in, I think, from 2008 to like 2012, I think he had that peak of like just best.
So, he's on my list too, so I won't, we kind of just covered everything. So I'll get into the next guy. Another guy who's pretty basic. He's on the, people's all-time pitcher list. I got Randy Johnson.
Yeah.
Such a prolonged career, played from 1988 all the way up to 2009, so he does qualify. And I pulled up his baseball reference just to make sure that, he pitched well in the 2000s.
Yeah,
And
I had him on my list too.
I was answered pretty quickly when I saw from 1999 to 2002, he won 4 straight Cy Youngs. So it's pretty safe to say that he was pitching pretty damn well. Every one of those years, he had over 300 strikeouts. Number 2 all time in strikeouts, only behind Nolan Ryan. Randy
I
Johnson
mean,
is
just
arguably the most dominant pitcher of all time. So
when you
had to
look at
put
his
him.
baseball stats and to be able to pitch basically 20 years, have over 300 wins, a 3.2 ERA, and in that span, people when they get older or just start out young, their ERA kind of inflates. So having that low of an ERA over 20 years really shows his dominance. Over 100 WAR, and like you said, 4 Cy Youngs in that time period alone. Obviously, it was just huge.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Won a
I
World
had him on
Series
my
with
list as well.
Arizona, I believe.
Yeah. Next guy I'm gonna go to my favorite pitcher of the 2000s. In a way, I'm gonna argue the most, along with Pedro, one of the most feared guys people didn't want to go up against. And coincidentally, he got to play for my team, Johan Santana. Won back-to-back Cy Youngs, and I believe it was 2006 and 2007. Overall, though, when he came into the league, was just great. Kind of, not the longest career, but kind of like a Tim Lincecum in his peak, though. I believe he put everything together in his third year around a sub 3 or very low 3 ERA, and was a very efficient, striking out at least 9 to 10 Ks per 9 innings. Just kind of did it all, and obviously was a big reason why the teams with Joe Mauer early in his career and Justin Morneau were 90 plus win teams. He was their ace number 1 and always gave you reliable starts even in the playoffs, despite that losing streak that started with those teams. Very great pitcher.
Now, do you think Santana wasn't on my list, but he's another insanely good pitcher?
He wasn't. Wow.
No, there's so many good pitchers, dude, from the 2000s that it's just tough to put.
No one's beating the back-to-back Cy Young guy. Yeah, crazy. You don't have him on your
Randy
list.
Johnson went 4 straight.
If you have 4, I'm curious then who are your other 2, because I mean,
Okay.
back-to-back Cy Youngs in the 2000s and just
I think it was. I don't know if I just pulled it up. He had 2004 and then 2006, but he finished third. He finished third the year in between, so it's not like he was a scrub.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, 2 Cy Youngs was very good for the whole
2 Cy Youngs is
2000.
good for it,
And
no matter what.
Then he got one injury in 2010, and then played one more season and kind of dipped. Kind of retired on top. Overall, though, was kind of just, I think, one of the most feared pitchers, and a lot of people have respect for him in Twins history. Throwing out, being part of that first pitch with Pablo Lopez in the Blue Jays series. It was a shame they couldn't get it done with him in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think him and Lincecum are some of those guys who, as good as they were in their prime, they didn't do it for long enough to make the Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, they're like the Hall of very, very good. I don't think Lincecum put up the career numbers to make.
Thing is, though, is from, I believe it was from 2002 to 2010, or 2009. So that's 7-8 years. It's not the longest, but his highest ERA was a 3.3. I mean, just for that 7-year stretch, he was arguably the best pitcher in baseball for that long. He was that good with that ERA. I don't know, though. People be people. It's whatever. Yeah, I'm not salty you don't have him in your list. Yes, I am. All right. Who's your?
All right. Well, I'll go to my next one, and I mean, if you argue this one, I don't know what to tell you. Justin Verlander. He's been one of the most dominant pitchers. Even
in the 2000s, I would take Johan over Verlander.
I mean, hey, you can make your list however you want.
I make the right list.
He won Rookie of the Year, MVP, Triple Crown. He's got 3 Cy Youngs under his belt. Obviously, they're a little more spread out up into the 2010s and the 2020s, where he still has dominated. 2022 Cy Young. I know we're not talking about 2022 pitchers, but I just think Verlander's when it's all said and done, is going to go down as one of the GOATs for pitching, just because of how long he's done it and how he's been able to reinvent himself throughout the decades to kind of adapt to how people hit. Because when he went to the Astros, he completely reinvented himself and made himself into a Cy Young finalist and Cy Young winner multiple times.
Yeah, I think, this is the definition of the best, arguably, 2010s pitcher. But for this assignment, Nick,
Hey,
it disappoints me. It really does.
So from 2006 to 2010,
Mhm.
this I'm not counting, because the year before he had 2 starts.
I don't see any numbers better than Johan Santana.
I'm pulling up his numbers right now.
Yeah,
He went 83 and 50.
Yeah.
Like over that time, 3.7 ERA total, almost 1,000 strikeouts.
Johan Santana's worst ERA during that time was 3.3.
This is also like Verlander's, his rookie year, he goes 17 and 9.
Well, that's the thing, though. This assignment was, 2000s mainly.
So you're saying 17 and 9 isn't good, no matter the year?
What?
You're saying 17? That was 2006 was his rookie year.
Yeah,
he was 17 and 9. Next year, 18 and 6. 2009, 19 and 9.
What were the ERAs? I mean, wins, are cute, but I get what you mean. It's a backdoor way into the Verlander discussion.
You can say whatever you want. Hey, you can make it.
Yeah. If I were to do a 2010s list, Verlander would be probably arguably number one. But all right, I respect it.
All right. Who's your number 4?
Well, I think I have number 5. I said Tim Lincecum, Johan, Randy, because I agreed with Randy. I said Pedro.
Okay.
And then last guy, I'm going with a guy from Philadelphia, Roy Halladay.
Good pick.
Yeah. Overall, very, because I didn't really know much about him until doing research about this assignment because, me, not the biggest, baseball watcher. But kind of stand up with history, but obviously was, huge on those Toronto teams and obviously was huge on the Philly teams, even though that was 2010 and a little bit beyond. But, overall, very good pitcher for his career, over 200 wins, 64 career WAR, low 3s ERA. And, I respect a lot of these pitchers who pitched at a time, when steroids were a big thing. And, he kind of, peaked at the very end of his career, 2008, 2009 with his lowest ERAs and stuff, but obviously had a 22-win season with Toronto back in the early 2000s. So you know what? Gotta show some love to Roy. He fit in my number 5th spot. It's my last pitcher.
That's a good pick. Hey, and rest in peace to a legend. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
He threw a no-no in the World Series. It's classic.
Yeah. And you gotta value clutch performances.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to do a little background because I know if I pull up this last one, you're gonna start complaining that it's a 2010s pitcher too. So I'm trying to pull up somebody else.
Well, Nick, I mean, if we want to do a 2010, I know the fans too and the people watching this are like, Justin.
I brought you up beforehand, and you're like, "Hey, we can make it."
No, I said 2000. That's what the assignment called for. You. I don't know how you don't have.
I brought it up. I don't know if I would just
redeem yourself and put Johan in your final spot, and we can end this video peacefully.
Got mine. It's not Johan Duran.
Clayton Kershaw.
Nope, it is.
I hope it's not Johan Duran. He just started pitching.
Oh yeah, I mean Santana. I got another guy who
Although that is funny though. Twins pitcher's named Johan. Very good.
I don't condone his off the field, behavior because I know he's not really a fan favorite. But I have Kurt Schilling, who in his prime, which was early 2000s, with Arizona. Really, I know he pitched on the Red Sox, but he wasn't that dude. Really, I mean, he had in 2004 he had 21 wins, but he was past his prime at that point. But with Arizona, he was filthy. So Kurt Schilling's going to be my number 5, probably the 5th best pitcher on my list if we're being real. But
Yeah.
I changed it up because the guy I had was kind of borderline.
Who was the guy you had?
It was Kershaw. But that's more so 2010s. Because I think his rookie year was like 2005 or 6, and he was still good, but
yeah, I think Kershaw 2010s legend. Yeah. So with that being said, though, that puts our top 5 list together.
Here, I can show.
We'll get this pulled up. Let us know in the comments who you think has the better list. I mean, if this was a 2010s assignment, I'd probably say Nick, but if this was 2000s, I think I got
Randy
the
Johnson
guts.
pitching in the 2010s.
I got the guts on my team. Johan Santana, Pedro, Roy, playoff Tim. We both similar though. Playoff Tim, Randy, Pedro. Where we went different. Nick went Justin, Kurt Schilling. I went Roy Halladay and Johan Santana.
No particular order, right? You didn't really.
Yeah, this wasn't particular. This was just names I wrapped off. If I were to do an order, I would go Randy 1, Johan 2, Pedro 3, and then Tim and Roy 4, 5.
Wow, you put Santana above Pedro. Wow.
Yeah, but more feared in the playoffs. But with that being said, let us know in the comments what you agree, disagree with, and make sure to like and subscribe because, like we've talked about in the intro, this new Sports Talk on Tap podcast. We're going to be uploading videos daily, Monday through Friday. We're also excited to announce we'll be doing a live stream for one of the upcoming NBA Finals games. It's a good time in sports. We got the Stanley Cup Finals, NBA Finals, MLB in full swing here, and just a good time in sports. Get creative. NFL mandatory mini camps are underway, so we'll be sure to bring all coverage to that. But with that being said, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content, and let us know in the comments whose list is better. Obviously mine. But with that being said, enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Peace.